Alright, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Is there no one else here? I wanted to bring a different type of video today. This one is going to discuss the Magicka Sorcerer meta and different Magicka Sorcerer setups that are very popular and very strong. I started playing my Sorc again the last couple weeks. During no CP or during the double AP event, I wanted to get some AP on all of my characters, so I went and played this quite a bit. I've been playing it more, wanted to tinker, wanted to try and find my own setup and, something that I could, kind of put my own name on or call my own build or whatever. But I'm just, I'll be honest, I could come out with my own, I could come out with a setup that would more or less be my own. However, it's just not going to be as good as what the current Sorcerer meta is. And Sorcerer is interesting in that there's two of them. There's the Lich meta, and then there's the amberplasm meta. I'm not going to try and say meta too much because I know that bugs people. Meta basically means like what the strong sets are. So either people revolve their build around running 5-piece Lich, or they revolve it around running 5-piece amberplasm. Now you can run Bloodthorn, and Bloodthorn is a good set in combat, but it's basically an amberplasm proc in combat if you're consistent with it, whereas amberplasm is all the time. So I like amberplasm a little bit more. It does provide, its next patch it's going to be 260 stamina and magicka recovery versus 250 for amberplasm because they're nerfing amberplasm a little bit. So you can back bar Bloodthorn, or for amberplasm you kind of have to double bar it to really get the use out of it. I wanted to discuss 3 different setups I've tried. Literally, I've tried them all. I wanted to provide pros and cons for those of you that just don't have the gear. You're not sure if you want to go and farm Lich. You're not sure if you want to go and farm amberplasm. You're not sure which monster sets you want to run. This is just going to be a video for you guys that aren't sure where you want to go with your sorcerer, and helping provide you a direction. I want to try and point you guys in the right direction for the play style that you want to play, so that you have the most fun using it. You use your time wisely. You get off of work, you want to come play the game, you want a strong setup, but you're not sure what you want to do. So this will help you optimize your time to build the strongest setup for your sorcerer. The first setup I want to run, that I want to show you, I think is really good in open world PvP. This is basically, it's very similar to what everybody's running, so I'm just going to run through the gear. 3 willpower, 5 amberplasm on the body, and then a 2-piece monster set. Now, if you're running solo, I honestly like Infernal Guardian the most over anything else, because this proc works amazing. What it does, I'm just going to go through it. When you use a damage shield ability, you have a 50% chance to lob 3 mortars over 2 seconds at the furthest enemy from you that each deals 70-18 flame damage to all enemies within 5 meters of the blast area. This effect can occur once every 6 seconds. So when you're on the defensive bar fighting people, this has a really good chance to lob mortars. Now, when you're 1vxing a group, this isn't always the case, but the people that are in the back are typically your high priority targets. The people in the front are your tanks, your tankier individuals, your melee guys, whatever. Oh, that was really weird. I don't know why that minimized. Though the guys in your back are your snipe spammers, your healers. The guys that are a bit more squishy are the ones that are gonna sit in the back. And this naturally goes to the people that you more often than not want to take out. So in a 1vx situation, this works out really well. If you're running in a group and you're in charge of running like Negate, for instance, I'm not going to go through the skills a whole lot. I'm going to show you guys the skills once. Healing Ward, Harness Magicka, Harden Ward, Dark Conversion. This is what we're using with amberplasm to basically give us unlimited sustain and power surge with Light's Champion. Light's Champion is the Restore morph. It gives you major force and major protection. It's very, very good. And then the front bar, it's whatever ultimate you want to run. If you're running in a group, like I said, Negate is very powerful. You run Crushing Shock, Haunting Curse, Mage's Wrath, Streak, Crystal Frags. Very standard setup. You can run Atronach, you can run Soul Assault, you can run Meteor, you can run Dawnbreaker, it doesn't really matter. As far as the character sheet goes, right here, fully buffed, we're sitting at 39,000 Magicka, 1579 Magicka recovery, 995 stamina recovery, just under 3100 spell damage, 35% crit, 1300 critical resistance. I'm not going to go in the CP because I want to make this setup. I want to make this shorter for you guys. Make sure we cover everything. But what this does, what this type of setup does, is it allows us to utilize our stamina pool to keep our shields up. So this is where a lot of our sustain is going to go. So let's say, you know, I'm in open world PvP, and Stevie here is with 50 of her best friends, and they're all trying to zerg me down, and I'm going to get teabagged. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and line of sight. I'm going to try and get the distance away from them. And so what I can do with amberplasm is I can hit Streak, and obviously Streak has increased cost all the time, but then I can use my Dark Conversion, and I can use my stamina recovery to get my Magicka back. Now, the pros of this are, look, I just got all my Magicka back really quickly. I still have enough stamina to break a CC. So then I can go back and I can do the exact same thing all over again, and I can get distance all over again. And then I can Dark Convert back. And so with this setup, you hit harder and burst because you're building, your sustain comes from Dark Conversion. You're using one more skill on your bar for your sustain. So you have to be a bit careful. That is a channel. It can be interrupted. You can be taken out of it. However, for a line of sight type of build, it is very useful because you basically can, like, you really can, if you play smart, you really can have amazing sustain with this set. This is part of the reason why they're nerfing amberplasm, in my opinion. So your burst is good. Your survivability is really good because you can streak, like you just saw, you can streak wherever you need to go and get out of the way. The problem that this entails is if you're fighting like one person, for instance. Let's say I'm fighting a Magicka Sorcerer, okay? And we're having a long fight like Magicka Sorcerers have. They're running a Destro Staff. Well, all of a sudden, because I'm running, I mean, you saw my Magicka recovery. It's not super low, but if I have to stack wards in a one-on-two situation, for instance, and all of a sudden, you know, they're doing a lot of damage to me and I'm stacking wards and all of a sudden I have to hit Dark Conversion, if they hit me with the Crushing Shock, then it interrupts me, they do more damage, I don't get my Dark Conversion off, and then, you know, I'm kind of shit out of luck and they really can put me on my heels. If I'm fighting a Nightblade and they're CCing me every 6 seconds, I'm going to be less prone to be able to use Dark Conversion because I have to break CCs. I have to make sure I have enough, and then I have to stack wards. So if they're running high proc sets, I really need to make sure my burst is on point. Because if it's not and they're allowed, and the fight's allowed to continue, if I start using Dark Conversion, they can drain me of my resources, or they can catch me, interrupt me in a Dark Conversion, in-cap me, Selene goes off, and I die. So this setup can give you amazing sustain with more damage, more burst damage, as long as you use line of sight well. As long as you're able to do that. And you do have to get rid of a skill on your bar in order to use it, but as you saw, like, I could limit, basically forever, I could streak around this building and dark deal all my stuff back, and I will never run out of stamina to ever worry about not being able to do this. So I could just do this non-stop. I could do a couple dark deals, I could streak some more, do a dark deal, streak some more. You know, and in open world PvP, when you're playing in a smaller scale situation, it really allows you to get in and out. So in a group, it's solo, I like Infernal Guardian. You can run 2 max Magicka pieces if you don't like the proc. I like the proc more than 2 max Magicka or 1 Magicka, 1 Kina. In a small group, I like 2 Bloodspawn because the ulti gen allows us to get to our resto ulti to be able to either heal ourselves or our other partner. If we're running a negate on the front bar, we build ultimate faster to negate a group. And negates are how you wipe bigger groups outnumbered. So I really like Bloodspawn even over Pirate Skeleton. Pirate Skeleton has a weird animation. It makes you a lot more tanky than Bloodspawn does, but the ulti gen on Bloodspawn is just way too good in my opinion. So those are the 2 things that I like. So that's one setup that I like. The other setup that is very similar, or is not similar at all, sorry, is, you know, this is basically there's the amberplasm meta that I just showed you using dark conversion to have unlimited sustain. There's also the Lich meta. And what the Lich meta basically is you run 4 body Lich, you run a Resto Staff Lich, and then you run your favorite 5-piece damage set. And so for me, as you can see, I'm going to be running Julianos next patch. This is going to be the setup that I'm going to run with, and I'll just explain why. So I'm running 3 Jewelry Lich, 1 recovery, 1 cost reduction, 1 spell damage, 5 Julianos, and then I will be running 2 Engine Guardian. Now, Engine Guardian is getting an adjustment this next patch. It's okay this patch for a Sorc, but when you streak, you can get away from your proc, and then your sustain isn't built in the way it is now. So that's a little bit of a bitch, and that's why Engine Guardian's not as good. But they're making it like the Blue Betty next patch, so it'll always hang out next to you, so you'll be able to rely on your procs. And with the amount of wards that we're stacking, we have Engine Guardian going off all the time. So it's going to give us our stam, it's going to give us our health, it's going to give us our magicka, and it's going to be very reliable sustain. So because Lich is such a good sustain set, what people do is they back bar it, so they run 4 body, 1 back bar, and that gives them enough room to run another 5-piece. And so you'll see builds out there. People have posted 1 million Lich builds, so it's either 5 Lich, 5 Burning Spellweave, 5 Lich, or 5 Julianos in my case, 5 Lich, 5 Kags, 5 Lich, 5 Martial Knowledge. It's just your favorite front bar damage set that you want to run. You could run Clever Alchemist, you could run so many things on the front bar. It's just what you think is going to be best. Next patch, they are buffing Max Magicka on the 2, 3, and 4 pieces, and they're buffing Spell Critical by a lot on the 2, 3, and 4 pieces. Julianos gives you Spell Crit on the 2 piece, it gives you Spell Crit on the 4 piece, so it is going to bump our crit quite a bit. And then because we are using Light's Champion on our back bar, this is going to be the ultimate we're going to use the most in an outnumbered situation. Any friendly target you heal gains major force and major protection for 5 seconds, increasing their critical damage done by 15% and reducing their damage taken by 30%. So when we pop Light's Champion with Julianos, we're going to have a lot more burst damage. So that's why I went with Julianos with this setup, with this 5-piece, and why I'm going to be running Engine Guardian next patch. So when I'm fighting outnumbered, I will have really good Magicka sustain and just overall sustain with Engine Guardian and Lich, and I will have good burst damage when I get my ultimate off. And the other part I like it is because the other part of why I like this a little bit more than the amberplasm setup is instead of running Dark Conversion, I can now run another damage skill on my bar. I can now run Daedric Minefield. And Daedric Minefield's good. I mean, you guys have all seen it. They do good damage that snares somebody in place. So when all of a sudden you're 1vxing and you have a tank that comes in and he tries to hit you and lock you in talons, you can do something to keep them off you a little bit. And if you can get to a spot like, oh, my bad. If you can get to a spot like a doorway and you drop your mines, they all stack together to where when people come in through that doorway, they will hit multiple mines, and it's a good way to nuke one person. And so you can take somebody out really quickly by stacking mines properly. And the other nice part about this is if you're dueling a Sorc, or you're fighting a Magicka DK with Inhale that can interrupt you, or anybody that knows to interrupt Dark Conversion, and they're on you when you try to do it. You're not relying on this for Magicka sustain. You are just getting it off your Lich proc. You're getting it off Engine Guardian. You can focus more on being offensive with this setup instead of having to be kitey and use line of sight and rely on more burst. Yeah. So basically, they're very similar setups. Gear just changes to Lich and then your damage piece. I do like Hunting's Rage. I am running Oblivion Enchant on my front bar with a sharpened staff. I think that's going to be the way to go. Torg's Pact might be better. I'm going to wait till Horns of the Reach to test that out. Yeah, but this will probably be what I'm taking into Horns of the Reach. I think this is going to be just a little bit better, especially with the crit changes and using Light's Champion. So they're both very good setups, but they're played different ways. And yeah, I think the amberplasm setup is a little bit better currently. I think this is going to be a little bit better next patch. So I'm going to try and cut the video here. If you have any questions, please comment in the section below. I know I'm covering builds that people already have out there, but that's not my point. I'm not taking these builds. Cody has them. Every Sorc is posting a build like this, so I just wanted to show you guys the difference and why I'll be running this over the other one that everybody else is running. Both these sets are very strong, and they kind of pigeonhole Magicka Sorcerers running Destro staffs into two different types of setups. And because of that, there's not as much build variety on a Sorc, in my opinion, compared to, other classes. So if you have any questions or comments or, tips for me, please provide in the section below. Hopefully this helped. Thank you. Have a nice day.